Welcome to this special production from KCTH Channel 27, Chabot College. My name is Jim Weeder. I'm your host for this program. I'm also a proud member of the Chabot College Foundation Board of Directors. Our producer for this taping is Sujoy Sakar. Our thanks to Dean Gary Carter from the School of Arts, to Chabot President Celia Barberina, and we are taping this conversation inside the Chabot College Little Theater, which is on the campus of Chabot College in Hayward. This program will air several times this fall on KCTH Channel 27 and KCMC Channel 28. You need to check with your UVerse listing. Look for Channel 99, location Hayward. You can also check with the Comcast TV Guide for further programming information. Of course, all of this is available on the web at chabotcollege.edu/TV. Our very special guest is author Jeevan Soochi, the author of The Last Smile, A Father's Love Story. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for having me here.
I want to read some of the notes that have been written about you in some of the local newspapers. Jeevan Soochi tells his story in The Last Smile, a complex work of history, politics, and tragedy. You immigrated to the United States in the 1970s from Kashmir, which is in India. You settled in the San Francisco Bay Area. You became a graduate engineer, a business consultant, and a real estate broker. You're married and you have one son now. You had two sons, which is the focus of your book. You left Kashmir to become a U.S. citizen. You lived the American dream. You continue to do that. And you've been here active in your community, active in local politics, active with your friends, with your extended family here in the United States. The dream that you were searching for changed dramatically with the death of your son, Amit, in 2008. Now, Amit died from heart failure, and this prompted you not only with an extended and elongated period of sadness, but also prompted action on your part and prompted you to write a book, The Last Smile, which is available on Amazon.com. let's begin with Amit, your son that passed away in 2008, and tell us a little bit about him to begin with and what you think prompted his death at the age of 30.
Jim, Amit was my first child, and very lustrous, extremely active. Even at the time of birth, the certificate said that he's a very lustrous boy. He did well. He was very much interested in sports. He played all kinds of games, baseball, soccer. And he also wanted to represent his high school. Unfortunately, for some reason, his grades dropped when he was in 10th grade, 11th grade. The grades kind of dropped, and he could not represent his high school. And I didn't really realize what it meant, because I think this was his dream, and I think his dream was shattered. Amit,
Was this to be an athlete for the high school, or
you represent the high school and you play
sports
for them. You represent the high school, and so.
But frankly, a lot of teenagers tend to drift when it comes to grades. I mean, it's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon. That's very true. And then, he went to the community college, didn't do that well. It was not that he didn't do well, it's just that he was not interested. And but finally he went to into a private school, and he started doing exceedingly well. His focus changed, his life changed from a social, party-going young man. He suddenly becomes a person who only wanted to add value. Every day he just wanted to add value on anything that he did.
So this was about age 23, 24?
This was age 24.
So it's like a light bulb went off.
Yeah.
He was flourishing.
This was after he graduated, and he really wanted to be someone. He really wanted to do something different. And that's the time, Jim, when I saw a big change. He doesn't party, he doesn't, get excited by the things, which excited him before or which excite every young man. And he became an encyclopedia. I mean, you could talk to him about anything, I have a friend, he's a neurologist, and he one day commented, he said, he's an encyclopedia. I mean, you can discuss any topic with him. But
so he became an introvert?
He became an introvert.
Okay.
But his interest started drifting in the direction of nutrition. I mean, he even joined some school online, which I found after he passed away. I saw the transcript from some integrative school of medicine. And apparently he paid them $15,000, and it was a 6-month course, and he became kind of a licensed nutritionist. It's still a mystery as like what they were really teaching. Was it an outlet for these supplement manufacturers, which apparently that school must have been. But they never called me back, and I just didn't want to go through any legal resorts. But anyway, coming back to Amit's interest in nutrition, he refused to eat the food that he ate for 24 years. He always enjoyed it, and he refused to eat. And he started shifting to salads, and but he had vegetarian, non-vegetarian, everything.
And as we're looking at the picture of Amit, this is a stunningly handsome, the term that I saw that was used by one of the reviewers, almost like a Bollywood actor, good-looking, tall, handsome young man.
Yeah, yeah, very good looking, and a very captivating smile, always smiling, and a lot of goodwill. A good man.
In his late 20s, then, Jivan, your son became involved in nutrition and bodybuilding.
Exactly. Well, it was not really bodybuilding. It was just living a healthy life. He felt that anything we ate was not the right stuff. This has fat, this has cholesterol, this has, all kinds of explanations he would give you. And as I said, my friend one time, he was having dinner with us and Amit was there, and he just could not convince him. I mean, the neurologist was like stunned. He said, I'm not able to challenge him. What he says is also right, but what he says is also not right.
Did this set off an alarm in your mind? Did you seek medical attention at that point? Now,
No.
He's 26 at this point.
He
26,
is,
27.
this was 2005, and no, it didn't, because that's unfortunate why it didn't. Our way of looking at a person is, we just see what you are doing in school, what you are doing outside school, how you are doing, at your job. Do you drink? Do you smoke? Do you have drugs? And those kind of things, we always kind of look at a young man and we say, if he's not doing any one of those things and he's doing well and he's adding value every day on whatever he is doing, you just leave him alone.
So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, in other words.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, he's just fine.
So he turns 28.
So what happened was that he slowly, steadily started losing weight. And, but it was not really bad. I mean, as you said, he's a very good looking man, and he would look good whether he was heavy or, not heavy. But 2007, I was very alarmed. In fact, 2006, I was alarmed because I felt that it could be an eating disorder or it could be anything. So I checked with some hospitals, and the best is El Camino Hospital in eating disorder areas. Somehow I managed to, convince him that he should go and see this person. He always listened to me. He was very obedient. He would never say no. He was upset and he said, why do you want me to go to that hospital? I said, just to get checked. There's nothing wrong. So he did go there, and somehow when I called them.
Didn't you make a deal for you to go too?
Well, he wouldn't probably go if I went with him. I wanted to, but I couldn't. But then I did find a way to call the person that he was going to see, and I was told that he is very fine. There's absolutely no problem, and it's just that he's very intense about his nutrition. That's exactly what the person, and she was a psychologist as well as a specialist in nutrition, and she said it's just that he is he's very intense about nutrition. There's nothing wrong. A lot of people are. And I kind of got upset with that person, and I said, you really think it's normal that a guy who has little muscles and is, weighs kind of normal, and now he is losing weight? And she said, well, maybe that's how he sees himself, and that's how he wants to be. So why are you bothering him? And unfortunately, there's nothing else I could do. But then I have a friend, and she's a doctor. I was just talking to her about my concern, and she said, it's very rampant these days, but it's rampant amongst girls. It's called eating disorder, and they just want to, look thin. They see themselves as kind of fat. I think there's a psychologist, and he's an Indo-American, and he can see him privately. it will not go in his record, and I'll make sure that he's able to see that doctor. Somehow again I convinced Amit and I said, I'm worried. I want you to see this guy. There shouldn't be any problem. And he said, I don't know why you do that to me. And I said, well, I want you to. Can you do that for me? He said, all right. So he had 2 meetings with this psychologist who specializes in eating disorders, anorexia, and those kind of issues. The doctor, obviously, he knew that it's my concern, and my doctor friend had asked him to kind of see my son. So he was open with me. He told me that there's absolutely no problem. He's just fine. He's very intense about nutrition, and I don't see any disorder.
And at the time he started taking over-the-counter
He
nutritional supplements.
He had been doing it since 2004.
So roughly 4 years, almost 4 years.
Almost 3.5 years. Because he was going to gym a lot. And one time I remember he just came with a lot of these bottles, and he kept it on the refrigerator. And again, least I knew that I should look at it and see what these are. I thought, these young guys here, they like to be healthy and they like to have vitamins and stuff.
And these are supplements that were designed or marketed rather to do what?
These were supplements essentially which were basically replacing food. I mean, these are for energy and for all kinds of things which are now, after doing this research and studying this subject, I found out that these are designed basically to replace food, give you energy. It's a delusion. It's a delusion that the supplement industry has created amongst youth.
And these are herbs and supplements that are very common, available all over the country, all over the world.
These are herbs and supplements, and many weight loss, these pills, they contain a cocktail of ingredients. And those are, like there's about 20 herbs of minerals, of vitamins. Then also there are add-ons like caffeine and
laxatives.
And laxatives.
And then there's a lot of issues with dietary supplements and drug products. There are many supplements, the biochemical mechanism or the way they act is by thinning the blood. For instance, ginkgo and ginger, they thin the blood. Aspirin thins the blood. Coumadin thins the blood. Well, if you take in all of those substances, you could be at risk for bleeding.
I have a question.
Yes.
You were just talking about the OTC, and I have this question here. Are dietary supplements regulated and approved in the same manner as pharmaceutical drugs?
The answer to that is no.
If not, what is the reason drugs are not regulated? And if so, is the FDA responsible for this, for overseeing?
Okay, let me just say this. FDA is responsible for dietary supplements. We do regulate them, but they're regulated the way foods are. We don't require any type of approval process. So we regulate them. They have to have certain things on their label. They have to have an ingredient statement. They have to have all the nutrients listed in there. If those nutrients have a daily value, they have to list that on. If it's an herbal product, it has to list the part of the herb that it comes from, but there's no approval process. Ultimately the safety rests with the manufacturer, and it's up to FDA to prove the product is not safe. And this is all because of the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act that was enacted in 1994. It used to be, prior to 1994, a dietary supplement product, any ingredient used in it had to be approved as a food additive. With that law, things changed. And now they don't. They have to notify us if they're using an ingredient that has not been used in a product prior to 1994.
Who has to notify you?
The manufacturer. So they're more like, they are regulated by us, but they're more like food products as opposed to like drug products.
It's your understanding that Amit was using these
He was.
supplements and potentially not eating properly?
He was not eating properly, and he was taking a lot of supplements. And in fact, when he passed away, we just went to clean his apartment, and that's where I actually got these supplements, and I gave them to the doctor right away, and they gave me a list of all the supplements with a stamp that they received it. And these were, like the doctor was telling me, he said that when you combine them, they become toxins and just kills your vital organs, your heart muscles, your liver. Actually it's because of that cocktail effect. I mean, individually, if you just have something, it may not have that bad an effect on you. It will eventually, but not that bad. But this one can kill because the sodium drops and, heart doesn't come back.
So what happened the day that your son died?
Well, he was in the hospital only for 3 days. In fact, he came
Why was he in the hospital?
because, I actually, when he came home.
What year was this?
This was 2008. And this was 15th March. It was a Sunday, and he came home. And in the morning, when I woke up, early morning, I saw him, his head was on the bathroom sink. He didn't fall or anything, but he was kind of, his head on the sink, so which means he had fainted. So I dragged him and called the emergency, and immediately he was taken to the hospital. He was there for 3 days, and they did in fact revive him. His heart, came
His heart
back.
had stopped when he fainted?
Actually, the heart was not functioning properly. His other vitals were still fine. The kidneys, the liver, which initially they thought that he might have a multiple organ failure, but that didn't happen. Everything started functioning all right, but his heart was a problem. So they had to move him from Kaiser Fremont to Kaiser Santa Clara, where they have a extremely good facility they just made,
Cardiac
cardiac
Okay.
facility. So he was actually, they revived him, and we had a meeting with the doctor, and he said, he's fine now, and we'll have to keep him here for at least 2 weeks, and he should be all right. Only in another half an hour, we had left the hospital. It was nighttime, almost about 2 o'clock. We left the hospital to come back in the morning, like 8, 9 o'clock. We were very happy that he's fine. And the doctor called, and he said, suddenly his heart stopped. We're sorry. So,
Just like that?
just like that. So it was just 3, 4 days, basically, and he didn't know about it at all, because when he fainted, we took him to the hospital. He never opened his eyes again, and he didn't know what was being done to him. So he was not in any pain or anything. Thank God.
Your parents lived to be in their 90s? On your wife's side as well, and so
Yes,
forth?
yes, yeah.
Long...
My in-laws, they both passed away, actually, just only a year before Amit passed away, 2 years before. They were in excellent health, they were in 80s, and there hasn't been an issue on that end.
Obviously, the focus of your pain and suffering is the loss of your son, but it had a ripple effect
It had
above
definitely.
and beyond that.
Definitely, yeah.
So, so what happens after that, at that point? A few months, a year goes by, what happens?
Well, I mean, you know, life is very strange. I mean, with